Hey everyone, just in the BG, just thought I'd give my thoughts on leveling in Lich King Shadowlands. Lich King's Shadowlands. So my biggest regret in leveling in Lich King Shadowlands is that you kind of, there's no easy way to say this, but it's kind of disappointing because Lich King was one of the better expansions, and leveling in Lich King, and then once you get to max level and realizing that the content's over, that's probably my only complaint. But I did notice, I got this from Wowhead, that if you get to max level, you can continue questing in the X packs, and they give you gold. So that's what I'm thinking of doing in terms of making gold on this character. I do want to give it a go, leveling a hunter. I'm not sure whether I should go dwarf or one of the new allied races, but I definitely want to give leveling a hunter a go. I've never leveled a hunter to max level. It's not something that I've done. It's probably something that I really want to do, but it's just, getting around to it, of course. It's something that I'm really thinking of doing. My thoughts for Shadowlands coming up, don't really have any. I've been watching some of the larger streamers, but it's not really something that it's not something that I'm so excited for, because they had a big delay, and okay, I get it. If you have to delay, then you should delay. Like, you shouldn't publish an unfinished product like with Fallout 76. I didn't play it. I was gonna play it. I was gonna buy it, but when I saw that it probably wasn't a good idea, I sort of got out of that. So yeah, if delaying an expansion will make it somewhat better, then do it. But I'm kind of sick of these new systems that have been in the game since Mr. Pandaria. We lost our talent tree in Cataclysm, and ever since then it's just been systems upon systems, and I just want to play the game. In Wrath of Lich King, I played a paladin. I was a holy paladin, and I liked that as a holy paladin, that if I needed extra survivability, I could put a few talents in protection. That if I wanted to do more damage, play shotgun for a bit, I'll deck out more and wreck, with judgments. And what's happening now is there's no real class identity anymore, and they're trying to give a bit more back in Shadowlands, but still, where's the class identity now? And I guess what upsets me more is that it's kind of fake. They're just giving breadcrumbs back, and I've never been a fan on breadcrumbing, keeping people interested. And now with Shadowlands, is with Torghast, is they want everyone to play all these tiers so they can get into the next stage, and it's just not, I just don't. I guess my biggest fear with Shadowlands is that they're going to promise all of these things and then they're not going to be delivered right, because then they're going to put too much emphasis on waiting for content, and they're not actually going to deliver anything of substance or value. That's my biggest fear. And on top of that, they're going to be on top of that, they're going to be putting so much emphasis on. They're going to be putting so much emphasis on everyone else doing their own thing, and they're never really going to. I'm terrible at playing Mooncon. Yeah, they're going to be playing too much emphasis on waiting for content, that by the time that the content is rolled out, that people are alienated by the game and that they don't want to do the content anymore. And then as a result of not progressing through Torghast, they're not going to progress in the game, and they're not going to be able to go for those entry-level raid tiers, and as a result they're not going to be able to get into Mythic Plus, and they're not going to be able to advance to Mythic Plus. And we all know that Mythic Plus is fucking everything. Like, if you don't get to, you know, plus 10 Mythic Plus, then you're not really in the game. And that's pretty much true, because in BFA, I didn't advance to Mythic Plus in any of my classes. I got up to a max 5 Mythic Plus, and I stopped progressing because I didn't want to play the game anymore. And so, sorry, just taking a sip. And so what I'm realizing now is that, you know, to sort of have any sort of success in the game whatsoever, you have to sort of play and master these systems, and no one wants to play these systems, no one wants to get these conduits, no one wants to go through all these processes just... No one wants to go through all these processes just for a fucking breadcrumb. And that's what it is, it's breadcrumbs. And, I mean, think about it this way, right? If everyone advanced through these systems, right, what are they actually getting out of it? These systems, they have no progression. There's nothing there. And if you think about what they're really offering, it's like these systems are, in a way, not a paywall, but I call them a wait wall, right? Because if you don't beat these systems right, you're going to be waiting to the end of the expansion to actually play the game. And to me, that's kind of like a scam, because if people want to play the game and you're not letting them play the game, and they're paying for the game, to me it's just kind of scammy in my eyes, because it's like you're putting all these conditions and all these things in place to try and force people to play the game a certain way, and it just it's not really that fair. Because think of it this way, right? If you want people to play the game in a certain way, why are you investing all this money into everything else? It's like you build a footpath and then you're building an entire park around that footpath, and you're saying, hey everyone, look at the park, but you have to stay on the footpath. And then all around the footpath there's theme park rides, there's food, there's the best drinks you could ever think of, you've got all these attractions around the park, but you have to stay on the footpath, right? It's so, to me, it doesn't sit right with me, because it doesn't sit right with me, because it just feels like this is how it's gonna be, and there's no other way around it. In Wrath of the Lich King, to progress you have to do heroics for justice points, and then to get justice points to buy the entry raid gear, and then you have to progress through the 10-man raids up to the 25-man raids through normal and heroic to get the gear that you needed to progress to the next raid tier. Like, if you didn't beat Ulduar, you couldn't progress. right? And the thing is that you know, to carry people into ICC, right, in 10 man, right, you needed at least, you know, 8 people out of the 10 group to have beaten 25 man heroic, right? And most people didn't actually raid ICC. It was that difficult, right? And LFR wasn't there, right? And the thing is that because ICC was genuinely difficult, like it was a difficult raid. Like it had, because I played Holy Pally, there was a massive emphasis on healers. Like it was a high impact raid, and the mechanics weren't that complicated. It was just that the mechanics did consistent damage, high levels of consistent damage all throughout the raid. And the thing is, if one tank even died, if your off tank wasn't as geared as your main tank and you died, the entire raid, it was a wipe. Like you had no chance in hell. No amount of flasks, buffs would actually return the raid up to a suitable level. And that's the thing with Wrath of the Lich King, is that it was difficult. And you know, the progression was linear, but because there's so many ways to progress in Shadowlands, right? What they've done is they've carved out, right, a fork in the path. However, if you choose one path, you still have to complete the main path. Like with BFA, right? Oh yeah, you can progress through the game however you want, but if you want flying, you have to rep grind. And the thing is that because everyone needs flying, I still haven't gotten flying for BFA. I can't be fucked. Who wants to do all the rep grinding just to fly? It just doesn't make sense. Anyway, I think my point is that everyone is worried about how Shadowlands is going to be progressing, and everyone knows that it's going to be kind of flaky. Everyone knows that's going to be kind of shit. And what people aren't focusing on is that the best way to progress was the justice point system, right? You do your heroics, you do your 10 heroics a day, you get your 72 justice points or whatever per dungeon, right? Each day you get 720 justice points. There's 7 days in a week, right? So you end up with around 5,000 something justice points a week, right? That's enough for a plate chest. That's enough for main chest, boots or braces per week. So each week you could get. So first week you could get braces and head. Second week you'd get chest and boots. Third week you'd get legs and neck. And the thing is that, right, you knew how to progress. You knew that it would take you 2.5 weeks to get into raid, and then from that first raid it will take you another 2.5 weeks to get you into the second raid, and then by the end of the first month, right, you're decked out in gear, right, and you're ready for first raid heroics, right? That was the progression in Wrath, and everyone knew it, right? If you asked how to progress heroics, everyone would spam heroics in trade chat. Like, you didn't, just because you were decked out in heroic knacks, right, doesn't mean that you stopped doing your heroics. Everyone had to do their heroics, and it was like, even to be a part on the raid team, right, the GM would whisper you, did you do your heroics, right? And that's the thing, like, that's something that you had to do. And to me, that was pretty cool, right? That was pretty cool that everyone kept on top of each other to make sure that everyone did the bare minimum. And the thing is that, okay, yeah, Wrath of the Lich King had its time, but if you noticed, they want Shadowlands to be like the second Wrath of the Lich King. They've been trying to replicate the success that Wrath of the Lich King had since Cataclysm, right? They realized that Cataclysm, right, the last boss, right, Deathwing, what kind of raid was that? That was shit. No one wanted to do that, right? If Deathwing was going to be a raid, let us fight him. Let us fight him directly. Let's stop with all the sub mechanics and all of this stuff. Just let us fucking fight him. It doesn't have to be complicated. It could be Onyxia 3.0. It didn't have to be all this fucking bullshit, you know, collect this, collect that. It didn't have to be like that, right? You know, Lich King, when you fought him, right, it actually felt like you're fighting a boss. Like, if you look back at the fight, even now, if you look back at the fight, right, everyone was standing opposite each other, right, and you know, to beat him, right, you had to force him you had to force the boss into their own mechanics to beat him, right? It actually requires fucking focus. Whereas now, half the raids you go to, or you click this, you port over to that, you defeat this bit, then you port back, and then you defeat that. It just, yeah, it's fucking bullshit, to be honest, right? And if you look at the way everything else has been going, they want us to beat Torghast. They want us to beat everything. And if you look at the first patch, right? Beat 8 tiers of Torghast, 8 times 14 floors, right? They want us to beat all of these floors. And for what? Just to start the first patch? And we don't even know, right, what the requirements are for the first raid. There's no information on the patch for Shadowlands. Everything that is being done in the PTR is a fucking draft. Look at it. It's like the PTR is barely ready. Like, the PTR isn't even a PTR. Right? I think the day 1 patch for Shadowlands, right, is going to be the PTR. Right? Let's face it. Right? And this stat, I don't know about you, but the first week when BFA got the stat squish, right? When it was BFA start Shadowlands, right? When everyone got squished down to 50. First week, nothing but bugs. Like, the amount of bugs that I got, right? There are times when my player would get stuck, right? Would just freeze up. And there were times when my player was invisible, right? There were times when I would move the camera around and bits of the skybox would black out. Like, there was all these stupid graphical glitches, right? I don't know if it was drivers or whatnot, but when they patched over to Shadowlands, there was so many bugs. And even playing, like, there were times when I'll be clicking on the spell and there'll be someone right next to me and it'll say that person is out of range. Like, stupid shit like that. And, you know, like, I'm not like a pro WoW player, you know. I'm no arena gladiator, you know. But the thing is that for Shadowlands to be a success, it needs to have a look, like, the teams need to have a look at what was successful, right? We have 3 choices, okay? The devs have said to us, these are your best choices. You have to pick these, right? The devs have said to us, this is what you need to succeed as a resto druid. These are your 3 choices. But with the old talent tree, actually, there were the actual builds, right? You could build your character, right? These talents, you're not building anything, right? You can't actually have a creative build for your character, right? Like, there were Death Knights in Wrath of the Lich King, right, that were blood spec, but were running Unholy or Frost talents as well, right? There were rogues, right, in Wrath of the Lich King. There were hunters, right, BM hunters, running survival, right? And that's the thing, like, okay, there's a few feral trades here and whatnot, but the reality is that there's no choice. Like, how is this a build? Right? You get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You get 7 talents to choose from. Whatever happened to talent points? Whatever happened to feeling your character grow as you level? Right? The stat squish is an illusion, right? All they've done is just taken all the abilities off the characters and given you 1 ability each level, right? You can't rank up your abilities, you can't do anything. Right? And remember, right? Cloth and plate now has the same repair costs. How does that make sense? How does that make sense? It used to be, right, that guilds reimbursed plate wearers because it was so fucking expensive to raid as a plate wearer, right? And cloth, I remember, right? I remember running a warlock, level 80 warlock, right? And my repair costs would be less than 100 gold. But as a healer, as a paladin healer, as a holy paladin, my repair cost per raid would be 300. Like, just the significance is massive, right? And like, there used to be a saying in my guild that all the clothies, right, they were rich because they never had to pay repairs. It was so fucking stupid. And then they said, okay, yep, everyone's gonna pay the same rate. How lazy have they gotten? Everyone gets the same. Everyone gets the same, and whoever's the best is it doesn't make sense. And on top of that, on top of that, right? It just okay. When I used to play, when you select a new character and you saw your talent tree at level 10, you saw it, you'd have this feeling that you actually had something to work towards. You have this feeling, okay, next 3 levels I can get this, next 3 levels I can get this, right? And you'd go to your trainer and you'd realize that you don't have enough gold to rank up your skill. And you'd actually have to work for shit. Like, they made you work to build your characters. Now, oh, I learned something automatically without being trained how to do it. Wow. It's like, like when leveling up your character, you actually became, because you had to work to level up your character. Same thing in Classic now. When you actually had to work to level up your character, you actually felt like you were your character, because you put so much work into this avatar, and you put so much work into building it up a certain way. You put so much work into going to that trainer, right? Paying the silver, paying the gold to get those ranks up. That by the time you were max level, you were broke, but at least you made it, right? When you got to max level, you felt like you made it. And everyone says, oh, the grindiness, it gets older after a while, but yeah, it's that grindiness that gives you that sense of accomplishment. And the thing is okay, I didn't play Classic, I didn't play Burning Crusade, but I played Wrath of the Lich King, and it was the best expansion. It was the best. Why? Because even though I didn't play Classic, I used to go to a friend's place, right? I used to play on their character, right? And Classic was hard. Classic was hard for someone that didn't play games like WoW. It was extremely hard because there were no written guides out there. Like, at the time, the only people who were giving advice were people who managed to beat the quests, right? And at that time, for those escort quests, right? If you didn't have a party, right, with a healer that has like at least like a few greens, right? I remember I was doing this escort quest in Red Ridge. What's the fucking place called? Here in Wetlands, Stormwind, Duskwood, Stormwind. But no, here, Elm Forest. Yeah, Red Ridge. Yeah, I remember. Right, the escort quest in the cave. If you didn't do it, right, you couldn't progress to the next quest zone. And another thing was that because you couldn't do that, right? Oh man, I'm getting tired. I'm sorry. Because you couldn't progress, and you had to get those healers with that at least had a green neck. Like, let's be real here. Like, it took me hours spamming in general chat in Red Ridge to get someone who had done the quest before, who was like, yeah, we're We can do it, man. It's easy. And it took fucking 20 minutes. 20 minutes of fucking nerve-wracking, sweaty fingertips just to finish this quest. And, you know, it's these memories like that. These escort quests that everyone hated, that everyone started to enjoy and realize that, hold on, fuck, like, you know, you've accomplished something. Like, after your first Onyxia kill, it's like, yeah, fuck yeah, I accomplished something. Like, I did something today, you know? Or it's like, you know, when you finish the Lich King quests for the expansion, it's like, fuck yeah, I accomplished something today, you know. And I never got that feeling when I was questing in Kata. I never got that feeling when I was questing in Mop. I never got that feeling when I was questing in Draenor, Legion, BFA. I never got that feeling. Now, yeah, Legion was a nice expansion. It looked really pretty, but I never got that feeling that I was achieving something when I was leveling throughout those expansions. Anyway, that's enough for me. This unintelligible, non-scripted rant has gone on for too long. If you finished watching, thank you.